So do you also happen to have the CHANI Astro Planner and are interested in seeing how someone else uses it, or are you just interested in learning more about the CHANI Planner in general? If so, stick around. So hi, my name is Steph and welcome to my sacred space. Today I will be just kind of like reviewing the 2026 Astro Planner by CHANI and kind of walking you through how I've been using it so far and what insights I've gotten from using the planner and stuff like that. It's not really going to be a flip through. I can link someone else's video for a flip through if you're interested in that. But this is more kind of like me sharing my insights so far with the CHANI Planner in general. So let me show that first before I continue. So this is what it looks, the 2026 Astro Planner by CHANI. So this is what it looks like. So full disclosure or full disclaimer, I don't know which is the appropriate word, but for the first half, I guess, or for the first chunk of this, I will be glazing the CHANI company. Just because I'm just interested in their companies in general, and this is again my first time purchasing a physical product from them, so I just want to share why I'm so passionate about the company and also astrology in general, but we can dive into that another day. But I want to go into why I find this company so fascinating, so I'll just start from the beginning. So right when you flip through to the first page, or not even the first page, like the back of this cover, it says, printed in Los Angeles and made with care. This planner is composed of FSC certified recycled paper and a mixture of soy and vegetable based inks with reduced amounts of VOC. It's also fully recyclable, including the stickers and spiral, so you can dispose of it responsibly when you're done. Plus, it was packed and shipped by survivors of gender-based violence, making a living wage for their labor via Gifted by Freeform. So, if you're like me who likes to be curious about anything, who is or what is the company Free From? I have it right here. So according to their website, Free From is a proudly feminist national organization led by queer, trans, immigrant, and BIPOC survivors. Our mission is to end gender-based violence by building economic freedom and safety with survivors. So I looked into what is a living wage according to Free From, and the company is based in Los Angeles, California. So I looked into, I think it's under the planner's description of how much they make an hour, and that would be $38.46 an hour. And I looked as of January 1st, 2026, the minimum wage in California is $16.90 an hour. So that's about 2.25 times the minimum wage. So I would hope that's a livable wage. So I looked into that and I think that's fantastic for sure. And the founder of this organization, Free From, is Sonia Passy, who's the founder of Free From, but is also the co-founder of CHANI. So CHANI and Sonia are a couple. Which I find so inspiring that they're like a power couple in that aspect, that they both have companies, and they for CHANI's company, like Sonia founds it, and then most of the proceeds, or not most of it, but I'll read into it that some of the proceeds goes into the nonprofit organization that Sonia has and stuff like that. So I just find that really respectable in this day and age when you own a company and you're giving back to the community. And again, very fitting to be talking about this during Aquarius season. But yeah, I think it's really cool, and I really respect that. I really that they both do that. And of course, there's more description for CHANI as a company as well in the planner. So for CHANI's description, which is what they have here under who we are, it says, CHANI is a queer feminist-led team on a mission to support everyone in living their purpose. We believe that astrology can be a tool for healing and self-awareness, and hope that it can ultimately help transform us and our world for the better. We start within by prioritizing our team's well-being with a salary floor of $80,000 a year, $80,000 salary, before benefits. We just have to sit with that. Like, I don't know any other company, or I don't know anyone who's flexing that they do this with their company. So again, mad fucking respect to CHANI and everybody in her circle and stuff like that. But there's more. $80,000, did I say that right? Yeah. $80,000 before benefits, a 4-day work week. get with the program, government, get with the program, a 4-day work week. Fully covered health, dental, and vision insurance, a 401k with a 5% match, unlimited menstrual leave. The company that you work for, do they do that? I would like to know, because if they do, send me an application. Unlimited menstrual leave, gender-based violence paid and protected leave, 7 weeks of paid office closure a year. Now, I don't know if that's unheard of with these tech companies or whatever the heck may be and stuff like that, but I'm impressed with that, because 7 weeks, because how long is like winter break or whatever? That's like maybe 2-3 weeks out of the year. So again, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they do 4 more weeks as well. Maybe Thanksgiving would be a week, and then 3 more weeks on top of that of just paid leave. Unlimited PTO with a vacation stipend. So again, if you know any companies like that, please send them my way. I want to apply so bad. And CHANI also is currently looking. They do have a careers page on their website, which again, I'll link below if you're interested. But the stuff that the people that they're looking for are like, you know, people who know how to work with apps and marketing and stuff like that. So, but if I could ever work for that company, I would love to just be like admin or something. Like, I don't mind like being a secretary of some kind at that point, just to get these amazing freaking benefits, which I've not even done. Unlimited PTO with a vacation stipend and a wealth building stipend. Now, if that's not the definition of giving back to your community or giving back or starting within or whatever the heck, I don't know what else to say. This is spectacular. And then lastly, we also believe in mutual aid as a practice and give 5% of all of our company's revenue directly to queer, trans, Black, Indigenous, people of color, and or disabled survivors of gender-based violence via freefrom.org. So again, that's where the connection is, which I absolutely love. So all of that to say, that's my glazing with CHANI and why I love this company so much, why I love their they also don't use AI in any of their horoscopes or any of their descriptions for astrology or anything like that. I feel like I have to say that in this day and age and stuff like that. But yeah, so I just really, really respect this company. So I think this is my first physical product that I purchased from them. But I purchased digitally their yearbook last year, and I think I purchased little things here and there digitally, but I never got a physical product from them. So again, very excited that like my money is going towards a good cause and to people who are living a wonderful living wage with all those amazing, spectacular benefits and stuff like that. So all that to say, when it comes to using this planner, so they do have a little section here on how to use this planner. So I'm going to go section by section and talk about how I use it. So I'll start with the little description they have here. Hold on, let me show y'all first. Okay, this planner is designed to be your map, compass, and companion for the year ahead. And because it's filled with rituals, reflections, and self-discovery exercises, which I'll go into, I think towards the end, but as I continue with how this is laid out. Because it's filled with rituals, reflections, and self-discovery exercises, it's also like a quest of its own, of which you are the triumphant main character. So again, that's spoiler, that's one of the reasons why I love it so much. And it starts with here's how to make most of it. So on this page, obviously the first thing they say is to download the CHANI app, which I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but CHANI is an astrology app as well. So download the CHANI app or pull up your chart with our online tool at chani.com. So they do have a page here. So I'll show this page because it has a QR code if you're interested in getting the plan. Also, I should mention I'm not sponsored by their app. I'm not sponsored by anything. I'm just doing this for the free. Like I said, I glazed and I just love what they do. I love their cause. I love their app and all of that fun stuff. So I'll show you this page. But I do have to say with the disclaimer that the stuff I highlighted or the stuff that I think is behind a paywall. So again, I know this is about the planner, but they kind of go hand in hand. So I'll talk about the app just a little bit. Yeah, so let me show you the page because it has a QR code to download it if you're interested. I hope it works through the screen. So that's it. And I'll run through these really quickly. And like I said, I'll point out the ones that are behind a paywall versus not. So again, if you were to purchase this, the physical copy is sold out, but you can still get the digital version of the planner. So again, if you're interested in using the planner with the app in tandem, Here's what you get with the paywall behind the paywall. Which again, I do also have to mention here, they don't say that all of these features are premium or not. So they're just like, oh, our app has all of these things behind a paywall. So I just have to point that out. So they're not saying that obviously, which is why I highlighted the stuff that I'm like, this is what you can get and can't get behind the app or behind the paywall. So the first one says, discover the blueprint of your life through detailed birth chart readings. So that is behind a paywall. You can look at your birth chart in the app, but if you click on any of the descriptions, you have to pay. So that is behind the paywall. You can track the moon phases and signs to create more magic, which I think is true. You can make the most of the present moment with real-time astro updates, insights, and advice. So that I think would be the app notifications, the podcast of the week, things like that. So I think, yeah, that's stuff that you could get for the free. Support yourself with audio affirmations. So I think you get one free affirmation and then all the library, like the rest of it is not, it's behind a paywall. So again, I highlighted that because sure you could get it, but you need to pay. De-stress and drift off with a selection of sleep stories. So very similar. I don't even think in the free version can you get one free sleep story. I could be wrong because again, I am paying for premium, spoiler alert. But yeah, there's a bunch of sleep stories, which I find fascinating. It's Chani who voices it. Chani Nicholas. I don't know if I even said her full name yet, but Chani Nicholas voices it. And she has a very calming voice and stuff like that. So I really enjoy those. Drop into each day with personalized horoscopes written by a team of real life astrologers. So that is true. You could get that on the website. You could get that. You could get like a planetary breakdown horoscopes, and that's for free. Connect to your purpose and your power with personal growth courses, including our viral 28-day breakthrough course. So I put an asterisk on this one because their viral breakthrough course is free, but right now they have I think they're building on the courses, but the second one they have is the Saturn return. If you're, I know that's a what's it called, like a trendy thing to say, or a very popular topic in the astrology world, or in the pop culture world, the Saturn return. So that is behind a paywall, but I do find it fascinating as well. Spoiler alert, it makes me feel, after I went through it really briefly, I didn't go breakdown, but it made me feel better about my Saturn return coming up soon. So I was like, okay, cool, bet. But so I would say technically 50-50, like you get one free course, but then everything else is behind a paywall. Find out how the planets, points, and nodes are currently impacting your life. So like I mentioned earlier, those I think would be the horoscopes and stuff. Prepare for and process the astrology of each week with sign-specific readings and journal prompts, plus affirmations, witchy rituals, and more. So that is definitely behind a paywall. So like I said, I think for the year, you get like a horoscope, like a written horoscope. She also has 2026 year at a glance, like for the general public. And then every week, Chani also does a podcast for the general public, but the sign-specific readings is behind a paywall. So again, I find it kind of bad that they didn't mention that this stuff is mostly premium. Like I said, I think all of this stuff is premium, but then all the other stuff, I'm like, okay, sure. But hey, you gotta do what you gotta do when you gotta promote your company. So I totally understand, maybe. But yes. And then the last thing, or the two last things, is unwind and reflect with a library of guided meditations. Again, I think you get one free one, and then everything else is behind a paywall. And then the last one does say, dig into your 2026 horoscope, your long-term astrological lessons, and the themes that mark your year. And then in parentheses, it says, we know you're curious. So like I said, I think in general, you get the general one, and then you get they broke it down by area now. So I think one of them is like love, life, work, connections maybe, or whatever. So I think those are free, that you can just pull it up on the app and stuff like that. But she does do a 12-month, like month by month breakdown of your year based on your rising sign, and that's behind a paywall. So all that to say, sure, you could download the app and use it in tandem with the astrology planner, but if you want to get your most bang for your buck, I guess, with this planner, I would suggest Chani Premium. Or you could just, again, if you're well versed in astrology knowledge and stuff like that, you could probably just raw dog it and just you do it based on your own knowledge or based on other people's resources too. Like, this doesn't have to be an alone thing or whatever. But yeah, so it does start with download the app. So there's a little bit about the app. The second thing does say to fill in your birth chart in the my chart section of the planner and get to know your placements. And then in parentheses, it says, we'll often ask you to refer back to your chart to understand how key astrological moments like new and full moons are impacting you. So I would say, yeah, for a great example of that, I'll go ahead and talk about it now. Yes, a great example of that is, I don't know when I'll be posting it. I hope it's in the same week, but a good example of that would be the upcoming Pluto Cazimi reflection that they have on here. So that's happening on January 23rd. And it says here, to open the birth chart, whatever, flip to the wheel or whatever, and then it says, for example, okay, so like I said, Pluto Cazimi reflections, I'll show it first. So that's what it is. That's an example. And then it says here, Aquarius occupies my blank house. The areas of life that this house represents are blank. So again, you would just pull it up on CHANI or pull up their reference charts and stuff like that, and then write your thing here. And then, for example, so the two prompts that they have here is, what is one way that you recognize or reclaimed your power in this part of your chart or in your life as a whole between March and June 2023? So that's one question to answer. And then the other one is, how do you want to continue this work in 2026? So that's the other one. So I wanted to read these out loud so that if you're not planning on getting the app, the little bits and pieces that I share with you about the planner, getting the app, getting the planner, the bits and pieces that you get about the planner, maybe you could use that yourself or whatever. So that way, yeah. But yeah, so it's like that, very similar prompts for the full moon, new moon, like they do have that and stuff like that. So that's what they meant by, yeah, like we're going to be asking you to refer your chart often, because they have prompts like that it's like, oh, what part of the house or what part of your chart is affected by this transit and stuff like that. So I find that really cool. So the other thing that they have, number 3, says use the reference tables and charts on the following pages to familiarize yourself with the signs, houses, planets, and aspects, plus other astrology 101 essentials. So for these, I think I would say they're very basic pages. The only one that I want to point out that I'm like, this is unique. I mean, again, I don't purchase many Astro planners, but whenever I do, like, I think this is a new one that I haven't seen before. And again, if you've seen this before, please comment down below like which planner, because I'm very interested. But the most unique reference chart that they have here is the moon signs. So obviously these are the 12 signs, but it talks about what to do when the moon is under these signs, which I think is very interesting. I've never seen that in a astrology planner before, so let me hold it up for y'all. So for example, it says for what to do, let's say, what's today? Aquarius. So right now, the moon is in Aquarius. So it says puzzle out new solutions to old problems and study your own heart with the same fascination you apply to everything else. So again, you don't have to literally do that, but I like the inspiration of that, of like, okay, the moon is in Aquarius. What Aquarius-y, nerdy, sorry to say, nerdy things can I do today or something like that. So I find that super, super cool. So the next cool thing that they have is where the next part, it says, review the mood of the month summary at the beginning of each month for an overarching view of the upcoming astrology, then complete the monthly card pull exercise and answer the corresponding reflection questions. So I find this really cool, again, for someone who's, I guess, a little witchy, if you want to call it that, and has trouble with being consistent with my practice. I really enjoy how there's a, whatchamacallit, a section to be pulling cards and stuff like that. So here's the example. Well, let me show you January. So that's another thing too about the planner, that they have the month by month layout and stuff like that. So I'll show you how the January looks like. And what I like too is they have like a key astro thing, and they have dates for love and success. So let me just do that for a second. So, and I did color these in because it's kind of hard to see with all the stuff going on, like where the star and the heart is at. So I highlight with highlighters, I like fill them in. So for example, here's 2 stars right here that I highlighted yellow. And then there's only one day of love this month, which is on the 29th if you guys are interested. But yeah, there's one right here. So I just feel like it's easier to see it. But anyway, so yeah, here's like a description of the mood of the month, like they mentioned, and then my card pool, which I'll go into really briefly. But so the card pool spread looks like this. So it's 3 cards, and And it does say like when you pick the cards, you can either, you know, write it down, doodle them, or use stickers to create your own renditions. So I was like, you know what, since I don't think I have a creative bone in my body, not artistically anyways, I'm like, I'm gonna draw it out. So yeah, if you want to see it again, these are my Stick People tarot cards if you're interested. And then the tarot card or the tarot deck that I'm using that I feel like fits the CHANI vibe is the Modern Witch tarot deck. I feel like it's RWS friendly and still has the same or similar images to the original Rider-Waite-Smith. So this is the deck I'm using. So for the first card, if you're interested in getting the spread as well, so for the month or whatever, so the first card does say, what is this card, or the first spread prompt, the first prompt says, what does this card say about what I'm ready to release this month? Which I think it's like a really deep question. I'm like, wow, I love that. The card 2 says, what does this card say about the skills I could develop to support me in the current moment? Great question to ask as well. And then the last one, what does this card say about what I'm healing, calling in, or moving towards this month? So I think those are very deep introspective questions, in my opinion. Again, as a newbie or an intermediate, whatever you want to call it, like I don't do a lot of tarot spreads, but this is, I think, a very general good one to ask. And then really briefly, if you can't tell by my stick figure, people, the cards that I pulled, I don't know if I want to say ironically, but and again, I don't pull cards often, which again, that's a thing that I'm trying to change this year. But the spread that I got 3 wand cards, which is crazy. That's obviously an underlying theme if I pulled all, and I shuffled really well and stuff like that. So for me to pull wands like across the board, it's like, ooh, a lot of fire energy, a lot of passion, a lot of motivation, a lot of desire and stuff like that. So that's really cool. But if you can't tell or read my whatchamacallit, if you can't read or tell by my drawings, the cards that I pulled were, the first question was the 6 of Wands, the second question was Queen of Wands, and then the third question was 3 of Wands, which I'm like, wow. I think, and again, I pulled this like halfway through the month, because I got the planner like maybe 2 weeks into January, or it arrived 2 weeks into January, and I feel like, yeah, that's very, very accurate. So I just wanted to share that I feel like this helps with me pulling cards and getting familiar with it, or, you know, things like that, at least with tarot. And then I like the questions, and it helps me doodle from time to time, which is really cool. So there's that. So now we're getting into the meat and bones of the point of the planner. So the next part says, check the planetary movements laid out each day to prepare for future events, plan your year, or take note of how the transits unfold. And in parentheses, it says, if some days are blank, that's because there's nothing major going on. So again, I feel like my first love into spirituality, I would say, is astrology. So, and I'm bad at like keeping track of my life, I guess, if that makes sense. So anytime there are these big significant transits or whatever the heck, like I can never really go back or recall, like, if, you know, as above so below, like what's happening here. So I wanted to change that this year. So again, my New Year's resolution is I'm wanting to be more aware astrologically, like what is going on and how it's like showing up in my life and stuff like that. So the way I've been using the planner is, like I said, I have CHANI Premium. So what I've been doing is anytime she goes into the specific horoscope for my rising sign, I've been writing things down in a sticky note. I've been writing things down in a sticky note like this. Because I actually want to write down like how it unfolded. Because this planner is kind of small. I don't know the dimensions or whatever, but it's kind of small and stuff like that. So this is a good example. I don't want to zoom in too much, but yeah, so this is the horoscope that CHANI talked about, and then behind it I talked about how it unfolded and see if like they match up and stuff like that. So for example, so I'll share one, I would say, successful prediction, and then one not so successful, which again, the way astrology unfolds and stuff like that, and obviously CHANI is only going off of your rising sign, so like CHANI doesn't know where the planets are in your chart and stuff like that. So like I feel like anything that doesn't fit fizzled out or doesn't, or like, especially with other transits that are unrelated that she didn't bring up and stuff, if I feel like nothing happened that day, or you know, then it's just probably my chart or whatever, or again, it's not even that big of a deal and stuff like that. So a good example was on January 7th. They have here in the planner, Venus conjoins Mars at and also the time zones, this is set to Pacific Standard Time Zone, I think, the California time zone. So Venus conjoins Mars at 6:16 p.m. on January 7th, PT. And then it says here, sparks are flying. Don't pretend you don't feel them too. Follow up with the people, places, and invites that make you sizzle. So I want to bring up here too, I'll put a screenshot that I feel like with the planner and the digital calendar download, which I guess I'll go into briefly towards the end, you get more of a elaborated horoscope versus in the app. Like I said, I'll mention the screenshot. It was like a shortened version of just like, oh, like something about sizzling or whatever. But this is like a more in-depth version of it. So I just wanted to point that out. But I highlighted that day because so like they said like that it says sparks are flying and stuff. So what happened that day, long story short, whatever, is I impulsively, like out of nowhere, and again, I am not the type to enjoy phone calls, especially impulsive phone calls or like last minute phone calls or unplanned phone calls in general, whatever. But yeah, I was like talking to this person and they were like, oh, like if it's okay, like can I get on the phone with you? And again, my shy introverted ass, like at first initially I was like, no, I don't want to talk to you or whatever. But based on the stuff we were talking about, I was like, you know what? Fuck it, we ball YOLO. Yes, you can call me or whatever. And then that phone call ended up being like 2 hours. So after looking at how that shit went down, and I'm like, oh my God, sparks were flying. And, you know, and what did it say? And follow up with the people that make you sizzle or whatever. I was like, damn. You got me. So that was really funny. So that's one is successful, and that's what I wrote down here. I'm like, I had a 2 hour phone call, whatever, on here and stuff like that. So it was really interesting. But one not so successful prediction, and again, it could be, I try to look into like my birth chart and try to like interpret it myself, why it didn't lay out, is on January 14th. January 14th, Chani predicted that I was supposed to get good news and I was going to get a huge yes, or like something that was supposed to come through that was like a big yes, and that many people want to like reach out to me and like show me love and stuff like that is what the sticky note says. But then that day was quite the opposite. Not that I got hate or anything like that, but like I did not feel good that day. And again, I was at work and stuff like that, and there was a lot going on at work and outside of work, and I was just like, where's the good news? That would have been appreciated or whatever. So again, I just don't know if, oh, and I think the transit, if that matters for people who are watching this, was supposed to be Mercury opposes, Mercury opposes Jupiter retrograde at 12:17 a.m. PT. It's called a leap of faith for a reason. You can't know how it'll all work out. Quit your what ifs and go for it. And then also Venus sextiles Saturn at 10:17 p.m. PT. Commitment magnifies closeness. Make a promise. Express your dedication. Show up for your bonds to strengthen them. So where was that? So I just feel like, I don't know if Chani, which again, with the good news and the maybe huge yes or whatever, stuff like that, I don't know if Chani was just like, you know, trying to turn it into a positive horoscope or whatever. But anytime planets oppose each other, like last time I checked, the little things I know about aspects, or again, we could go back to the reference point or the reference sheets about aspects and stuff like that. And so opposition, it says here, the most challenging aspect involving two planets or points which balances competing wills or drives. And that was more accurate than Chani saying that it was going to be good news. So again, I just don't know if like that's just her trying to like maybe twist it into a better thing. Or again, since we're talking Jupiter here, yes, Jupiter is exalted at the time that this was happening, but it was in retrograde, and again, it's opposing a planet like Mercury, the planet of communication and stuff like that. So again, the stuff that was being communicated to me that day was not good news, not things like that or whatever. So again, I just don't know if that's a bit of Chani, a bit of my personal chart, or just, hey, maybe that just wasn't supposed to happen for my chart that day, if that makes any sense or whatever. So with the premium, I do want to say like her horoscopes and stuff like that, like it definitely fills in the gaps. Like when she's talking about like the week ahead and stuff like that, and all of these like random horoscopes that are in here, like I feel like that's just a tiny snippet. And so hearing Chani talk about it on her weekly podcast, at least that's a free, like her general week ahead and stuff like that, like hearing her talk about it, like it fills in the gaps for the planner and stuff like that, which again really love. But without the planner, I mean, yes, you can work with what you got. And also again, if you're intuitive with astrology and you already know your knowledge, like you probably don't need her explaining it to you. But for someone who's like a beginner, I guess, in that aspect, or an enthusiast, I'd like to call myself an enthusiast, it's helpful and stuff like that. So again, not sponsored, I just really like the app. I really like Chani, and you saw what the company stands for and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll be glazing here and there. I think one thing to point out too with the tiny size of this planner is, like I said, sometimes there's a lot happening in the sky at any point and stuff like that. So for example, I have it on here for May 1st. There's a full moon, there's Venus sextile Saturn, there's Mercury conjoins Chiron, there's the Jewish American Heritage Month begins, there's Beltane, and also Asian Pacific American Heritage Month begins. So yeah, I'll show you what the page looks like. So this is for the day, right? This is like chunked up for the day. And so all of this is being taken up by everything that's happening in the sky. So really you only have time, or you only have space to journal here. And then again, whatever insights I want to share with, which again, I want to do half predictions with the sticky notes, which again is a tiny planner that you can only work with so much. So I really recommend sticky notes or just notepads, whatever you want to tape to it or stuff like that. And then writing down how it unfolded. So and it's not a negative. Again, there's just a lot going on in the sky at the moment and stuff like that. So I just want to point out that sometimes there's some days that it's like, oh, you can barely have space. And then here's a blank page. I don't know if I showed that yet. Yeah, there's nothing going on this day. So you have all of this to write down how that day went and stuff like that. So it's just something to consider with the size of the planner. But again, not a huge negative. So then the next thing, second to last, we're almost done. So the next thing says to answer the daily reflection questions and track how your responses evolve over time. And then it says, note, it's okay if you miss a few days or choose to skip these questions altogether. This is your planner after all. Love to see that. But I really wanted to talk about that because, and again, to be honest, I only seen one review of the Chani planner. So I don't know if anybody has realized this or pointed this out yet. So if I'm not saying new things to you, then cool. But I do want to point out that the activity prompts, or the daily reflection questions that they have on here, is all based on the energy of the planetary days, which I find amazing and fascinating. I think I'm saying that right. So the planetary days, as you know, there's 7 days of the week, and they're all I don't know if you know this, so sorry, but they're all like ruled by a certain planet in the sky. So the English way of saying the days, so Monday through Sunday, they're all based on the gods, like the names of the Norse gods, I believe. I could be wrong, but most of them are Norse. And I feel like that's a little harder to remember what the planetary days are unless you know your Nordic gods and stuff like that. So congrats. But so for example, I think it's easier to remember the planetary days because I think it's easier to remember the planetary days going off of how you say the weekdays in Spanish. So for example, well, for the first one, Monday, right? So the first one, we'll just go into the first day of the week. Monday, you could just remember that it's Moon Day. So that day is ruled by the moon. I didn't do my research, so sorry on that, on why and how. I don't know why they're all, like, why the days of the week are assigned to a certain planet of the sky. And where that comes from. So I didn't do my research there. I just did my research on what days of the week it rules and stuff like that. And obviously the energies associated with that planet. But I think either way, even as a collective, if you just collectively think to yourself, like, today's Moon Day, I should do things dedicated to the moon, or like honoring the moon and stuff like that. I just feel like you just do that for you. I feel like it's probably a placebo effect or a psychological thing. But either way, so for the first day, so for example, Monday is Moon Day, right? Or in Spanish, like I mentioned, is lunes. So lunes, right? So for that one, the moon is traditionally known to rule over the body and the emotions. So, or anything of like that that caters to your needs, it's very nurturing and just very intuitive and stuff like that. So with that being said, the question on the Chani thing, so yeah, the first one is the basic one that they ask every day, which is, I woke up dreaming, thinking, or feeling. And then for every Monday prompt, or every Monday reflection question is, how can I center my body's needs today? like I just said, that's like honoring a question based on the moon. So I find that really, really cool. And for example, so for Tuesday, again, these are all based on how you say it with the Nordic gods and stuff like that. But in Spanish, Tuesday is martes. So martes is Mars. So Tuesday is Mars Day. And Mars usually is the planet of drive, your motivation, your ambitions, like anything that you want to challenge yourself and take on and stuff like that. So again, to honor the energy of Mars, the question that they have for Tuesday is, how can I lean into my growth edges today? So again, it's just like, okay, what can I do today that will push me a little, you know, that would dedicate, I don't know. You get what I'm saying? That's a great question to ask for Mars Day. And then for Wednesday, which again, Wednesday, I think it's the Norse god, I forget their names, but I looked up or whatever. But in Spanish, like I mentioned, is miércoles, or Mercury, so it's kind of close in English, but in Spanish, in Spanish, the planet of Mercury is called Mercurio, something like that. Sorry, I'm butchering it. But Mercury, so again, Mercury is a planet of communication, of messages and writing and stuff like that. So for Wednesday, they have, what encouraging message can I give myself today? Which again, love that it honors the planet of Mercury and just like, okay, what can you say to yourself to hype yourself up? So maybe a good day to, again, dive into a podcast, listen to your music and just like, you know, hype yourself up and stuff like that. So I find that really cool. And then for Thursday, so in Spanish is jueves, and I guess that's close to saying Jupiter. Just remember Jupiter, jueves. Jupiter is the planet of luck, of generosity, wisdom, and doing the most. Just Jupiter loves being extra. So for Thursdays, they have, what's one way I can be generous with myself or others today? So again, very Jupiter coded. So for Friday, they have... or Friday in Spanish is called Viernes, which Viernes is easy to remember. I hope I'm making sense. If this is not making sense, please let me know. But Viernes, right? So Venus is the pleasure of love, the planet of pleasure, love, and beauty. So for Fridays, they have, how can I weave more pleasure or play into my day? So again, this is a great day to go on dates, to self-care, do a little mani-pedi, do a haircut, whatever you want to do, just honoring Venus and stuff like that. So again, great question to ask for a Friday. And then Saturday, which I think is very self-explanatory, thankfully. Now we're at a point that it makes sense in English. Saturday would be, or the Saturn is the planet of discipline, rigidity. What? Rigidity. Discipline? Rigidity. That's not a word. That can't be a word, right? Discipline, rigidness, realism. So the question they have for Saturday is, how can I practice saying no today? And at first, like I said, working with the planner, I'm like, that's not a good question to ask on a Saturn day. But I think, again, if it's the planet of limitations and boundaries and discipline, maybe on Saturdays you think, okay, how can I practice saying no in the sense of like, it could be good and bad. So like I was thinking in the bad way of like, what, I need to cut off something else. I need to, you know, this and that or whatever. But it could be in a good way of like, well, you know, I realize that this habit is not good for me, or maybe the way I'm approaching this habit is not working. Or again, I said yes to this party 2 days ago, but now I don't want to go to that party anymore. So like that. So I think that's a great question to ask on a Saturn day. How can I practice saying no? Whether that's no to you, no to someone else, no to whatever. So again, great question to ask on a Saturday. And then lastly, the one for Sunday, which is self-explanatory Sunday. That one I had to look up in Spanish. I didn't say the Saturn day. Okay, Saturn day is, in Spanish is sábado. I don't know if that's close to Saturn, but sábado. And then Sunday, I was really thrown off because in Spanish, sun is sol, but Sunday is called domingo. So I'm like, what the hell? Who's domingo? Sorry, reminds me of the SNL skit. But yeah, I'm like, what is this domingo or whatever? And then when I looked it up, domingo, I think it's like a Spanish, Italian, you know, like the Latin language or whatever, that it's literally translated to the day of the Lord, which again, everybody says that Sunday is the day of the Lord or whatever. And in Spanish, God or Lord, you say Dios. So I'm like, that's close, Domingo, or right, or whatever. But Sunday, we got that right, Sunday. So Sunday is ruled by the sun or whatever, and the sun is usually rules confidence, vitality, creativity, just anything that like puts you on the spotlight or whatever. So again, for Sunday, they have, how can I encourage myself to shine today? So I remember when I started trying to get into planners and stuff like that, like I really wanted to honor like the planetary days and honor like what can I do every day to, what's it called? What can I do every day to honor the planets or whatever? I don't know if I'm butchering what I'm saying. But again, the fact that this planner already has that embedded, I'm like, great. I can just, it makes me sit with it and be like, okay, so today's Wednesday, today's Tuesday. And what I did today for Mars energy or whatever is, again, I got to my chores, I'm recording this video, like I'm like, all right, let's hustle or whatever. So yeah, it's cool that for this planner, it asks you questions based on the planetary days. And I find that really, really cool. So that's how I've been using that, of like just thinking, okay, if, you know, if like I said, if tomorrow's Wednesday, like what encouraging message can I give myself today? So yeah, I find that super fascinating. So yeah, we went on a tangent there talking about the planetary days, but I had to explain that it makes sense. And then last but not least, which is what also makes this planner very unique, is complete the activity prompts to work with each significant astrological event as it occurs. As always, try the exercise that resonate with you and leave the rest. So like I said, the Pluto Cazimi was a good example. Some are repeated throughout the planner, which I appreciate that as well, just to like switch it up or whatever. So for example, one of the common ones is, so they have sections here and there. For one section it says, today I feel grateful for the following things, people, experiences, and lessons. So yeah, from time to time you'll see this prompt to repeat itself again. Another prompt they have, which again, you can take this with you and maybe do it yourself or whatever from time to time, is a breathing one. So it says here, set a timer for 5 minutes and try the following breathing exercise. Breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, and exhale for 8 seconds, then repeat. You can adjust these times to find a rhythm that works for you, but exhaling for longer than you inhale engages your parasympathetic nervous system, helping you calm your nerves and de-stress. So again, from time to time, this prompt is also repeated throughout the planner, which I appreciate as someone who's always, I need a chill pill. Another one which I enjoy, again, I don't have a creative bone in my body, is another prompt that pops up from time to time, is art break. Use the space below to doodle, draw, or create a collage out of the stickers that speak to you. This is a judgment-free zone. Don't worry about making it pretty. Just notice what wants to be expressed right now. So again, that's another prompt that they have, which I find really cool. Another one that they have that sometimes you kind of like interact with the planner, which I find really cool, is one they have here for March 25th. I feel like that matters. Yes, if you want to do this for yourself, March 25th, they have an oath to self. To work with the Saturn Cazimi, so again, I guess mark your calendars, March 25th is the Saturn Cazimi. To work with the Saturn Cazimi, write an oath to yourself that feels resonant with and supportive of your thoughts, feelings, and intentions for the coming year. So then it says, I promise, and then you write down what you want. And then it says, flip ahead to October 4th, when the sun opposes Saturn, marking the halfway point of this annual cycle. Then write your oath on that page of that planner too. You can also write it on any pages between now and then as reminders along the way. So I had another prompt earlier where, I did the same thing where I wrote the promise or the affirmation, whatever, onto the sticky notes, and then I sprinkled it throughout the planner, which is really cool. So yeah, here y'all go if you are interested in doing that on March 25th. I just wanted to put this in here because I don't know, I find it interesting. I think I found a typo. So on April 20th, they have a prompt, an activity prompt called frustration management, but they spelled it management, and I don't think that's how you spell management. So I just want to put that out there. Again, this doesn't kill the Astro Planner or whatever, but I just find it funny. Management. Because that's not how you spell management, right? Unless that's a word that I don't know, and then I'm looking like a dumbass. So I should have looked it up before recording this, but I'm pretty sure that says management. Management. So again, very similar here. It says Mercury, Saturn, and Mars are all coming together in Aries, which occupies my blank house. The areas of life that this house represents are blank. So again, very like, you need to pull up your birth chart for this shit. And then again, it says, when anger, impatience, or frustration arises in this part of my chart, the following tools and or practices help me navigate the conflict. So they have spaces for 3. And then it says, in need of a bigger cool down, pull out your journal and vent till you're out of steam. Then tear up what you've written. And then in parentheses, it's cathartic and symbolic. When you're done, recycle the ripped pages or bury them outside. So again, if y'all are interested in that ritual or that activity thing for 420, blaze it. Manage your frustration, you know, if you're interested. So that's a really cool one. And then a ritual that they have is, an example of a ritual they have is on June 21st when Cancer season begins. So that's when summer season begins. They have a sun ritual. So it says here, dedicate a shelf or small table as an altar to the sun. Dress it with a yellow or gold cloth, then adorn it with fresh flowers and any items that invoke a solar quality to you, such as lion figures or golden trinkets. 2, light a yellow, gold, or beeswax candle and place it on your altar. And then they put in asterisks for safety reasons. Never leave a lit candle unattended. Number 3, identify solar quality you want to call in, such as confidence, visibility, or creativity. Number 4, convert that intention into an affirmation by filling in the following. I radiate blank. In return, I am witnessed, recognized, and affirmed. And then number 5, repeat this affirmation 3 times. After the 3rd time, blow out your candle, delivering your spell to the cosmos. So again, on June 21st, if you are interested in doing a ritual like that, by all means. So again, I find this a really unique planner, very fascinating. And the last one I want to share, which I think is the most unique one, is a DIY scrub for Mars and Uranus. So this is happening on July 3rd. Mars conjoins Uranus, which is crazy. I think, I do remember, I think maybe some astrologers talking about this day being like a chaotic planet conjoining another chaotic planet. We'll see how that goes. But a DIY scrub for Mars and Uranus. To settle any agitation that arises today, nurture the parts of your body most involved in the world around you, which is your hands and your feet. And/or feet. So the first one, mix the following ingredients into a paste. 2 tablespoons of coffee grounds, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 tablespoon of melted coconut oil. 2, rub the scrub on your hands, your feet, or any part of your body that can use some pampering. Number 3, after massaging those areas for 5 to 10 minutes or as long as you like, wipe away the scrub with a towel. Then rinse off, visualizing all of the anxious energy spiraling down the drain. So again, I think I flipped through this planner and I think that's like the most unique one. It's just like, hey, break this out, do a little scrub for yourself, do some self-care, because again, when Mars, a planet of aggression, the planet of anger, conjoining or teaming up with Uranus, which is a planet of like upheaval, I think chaos, I don't remember, and stuff like that. Again, I could look at the reference pages, but anyways, here's your DIY. Yeah, I think all of these are very unique, and so far I've been enjoying it. So far I love how it lets me sit with the energy for the day at least, and just see how everything unfolded. And again, using the CHANI Premium, not sponsored, seeing even more insight on how that day is supposed to unfold. And then again, all of these big important transits, new moons, Chiron, all of this stuff or whatever, I find it really fascinating that they have a prompt for that, like if you want to work with that energy and stuff. So I find that really cool. I would say the only negative, quote unquote, that I would bring up to CHANI and the people who make this, the lovely people who make this, maybe having some tabs. I don't know if you noticed that I have purple sticky notes, like these tiny sticky notes, and I have more in case they fall out, because again, I'm gonna be using it and stuff. Like I wish they had tabbed the months. So I have one for January, like right now, or actually that's for the reference pages, but for January, I have one sticky note there, and I have a sticky note to reference the pages, the reference pages and stuff like that. So the Astro 101, like these type of pages, so I have a different sticky tab for that. And then lastly, I have a sticky tab for what day it is. So like I mentioned, oh my god, today's a cazimi. I should look into that. Oh, well, I'll see what comes to mind for that one. But yeah, so I have all those sticky tabs. So I wish I had tabs to just like, or a bookmark even, to just like go back and like, the only bookmark I've been using is their gifted coupon that they have here. Again, that's the free from website, and their, which again I'll link below and stuff like that. So it's a reclaim your purchasing power coupon or whatever. So I've been using this kind of like as a bookmark as well and stuff like that. So I would say that's the only negatives. And like I said, unfortunately, it is sold out. So if you're interested in like the rest of the prompts that I didn't even mention and stuff like that, they do have a digital version of it, which I'll link down below. And then I mentioned this very briefly, but if you order this and maybe order the digital version, you get a calendar like download of all the transits happening, which again, they have a separate purchase for that too, which I'll link down below, which again, not sponsored. I just love that. I'm glazing. I love this company. But the download calendar or whatever, like they also have very similar prompts as well. Like I remember going through, shoot, I don't remember which prompt it was, but I remember looking through it myself on the phone, that they had, that the activities that they, I think it was like for key astro success and stuff like that or whatever, like the dates that they say were really significant for success and love. Sometimes they had activity prompts that were similar to what's in here. Not even similar, I think it is the same that's in here. So again, if you just want the download, because that's the cheapest option right now, I forget how much it costs, but if you just want the calendar download of the iOS or whatever, you get the same insights of what's happening day to day, and then also some of the prompts. I think they do have that in there, so that's really cool. And then if you want the digital version, of course it comes with that, it comes with the PDF, it comes with the calendar download regardless and stuff like that. So I find that really cool if you're interested in that. But yeah, low-key, I feel like this planner review is all over the place. But again, we took a deep dive on who is CHANI, who's free from, and what they stand for and what they value and stuff like that, which I highly, highly respect. CHANI, please hire me. You're not watching this, but please hire me. So we talked about who they are. We talked about what's in the planner and all the fun stuff that's in there and how I've been using it. So like I said, I've been using it to reflect. I've been using it with sticky notes to talk about the predictions that CHANI had and stuff like that, and seeing how it unfolds. And we talked about the different activities that they have. So tarot card pulls, you could do oracle cards. It doesn't have to be tarot, of course, or anything like that. You could do oracle and whatnot. We talked about how the daily prompts that they have in there are connected to the planetary days. So again, I already said the questions out to you. So if you want to work with those questions every day yourself, by all means, I feel like they're fascinating questions for every day, and all of the different activity prompts. So yeah, I hope you found this review / deep dive insightful. If you stuck around for this long, please like and subscribe, and let me know down below what are your thoughts about the CHANI planner and the CHANI as a company as a whole. Like I would love to hear your insights about it and stuff like that. Everything that I did mention today that I'm referring to and stuff like that, everything will be in the description. And lastly, if you're interested, like I said, I'm trying to practice my tarot reading skills and whatnot. So I do have a Ko-fi or Ko-fi. I have yet to look up how do you pronounce it, but I have a Ko-fi website with I think 1, 2, 3 card readings, 1 card, 2 card, 3 card readings. If you're interested in booking a little reading with me, you don't have to, obviously, but I have that. But yeah, so I think that's all I have to say. Yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you later.